Hello everyone, my name is Lee, and today I will be giving a presentation on the show Designing Women. From 1986 to 1993, Designing Women played an important role in shaping how the media approaches female-led shows. In its early seasons, the sitcom follows four main characters, Julia, Charlene, Mary Jo, and Suzanne, who all work together at the Sugar Baker design firm. Each episode consists of the women facing different social issues, from struggling as women in the business world to the AIDS crisis. For this presentation, we will focus on the Season 2 episode, How Great Thou Art. How Great Thou Art follows Charlene's struggles with opposing views from the pastor of her church. She believes that women should be allowed to preach as ministers, while her pastor believes that only men can. By the end of the episode, she loses faith in her congregation, ultimately deciding to go to a different church, with values similar to her own. She does not take this decision lightly, however, and spends a majority of the episode feeling incredibly doubtful and incompetent. Charlene repeatedly questions why God would limit half his children from participating in the clergy when he is supposed to love them all equally.
One major theme of this episode is religion, specifically women's roles in religion. For the episode, the role that is questioned is whether women are competent enough to fill the role of a priest, which is traditionally reserved for men. Like the show in general, gender norms are pushed into the spotlight and has its validity questioned. Activism and the willingness to stand up for what is right is also a theme that is often explored in the series. Whenever a construct is presented, the women have no qualms about abolishing them. Despite being archaic, women in contemporary society are still excluded from pursuing clergy positions. Susan A. Ross explains that sexuality has an ontological significance at its core. Christ's maleness also has an ontological characteristic, which the priest must share. This is evident in the episode as the minister constantly quotes scriptures that describe how women are physically inferior to men. While the episode sets this up to be based solely on religion, this can also symbolize women's roles in general. Despite constant strides towards gender equality, women are still considered inferior to men in multiple aspects of life and must follow specific gender roles. Jeremy Butler confirms this sentiment in an article about the show, describing how women go against the gender norms of the time, specifically when it comes to business. By simply running their own business, Julia, Suzanne, Charlene, and Mary Jo have deviated from the norms of the time and are successfully competing in a man's world. Designing Women is still as important today as it was when it first aired. Its true value comes from its ability to inspire women to want more out of their lives. As Melanie Hamlet writes in an article for Yahoo News, at its core, Designing Women is about women taking care of themselves and each other. There are alternatives for standards, you just need to be willing to look. On the skyscraper model, the show would be placed near the top. It is a higher form of media with cultural significance. On the subway model, I would place it at the intersection of comfort and innovation. The subject matter is innovative in concept, and the sitcom formats feel warm and inviting, as there is a concept in each episode that anyone can relate to. Although How Great Thou Art came out well over 3 decades ago, the message of the episode is still relevant. Despite having a strong storyline, one thing I would approve on is the length of time spent on Charlene's struggles. Perhaps the episode would be better suited as a 2-parter, which would allow more time for development. Overall, this episode is a wonderful example of the conflict of morality, and it still feels fairly modern. Elena Nicolau writes in an article for Refinery 29 that since the show went off the air, what has changed is the TV landscape. Women-led sitcoms are no longer the exception. While there are plenty of shows that follow a similar format, Designing Women will forever remain unique. Since premiering nearly 40 years ago, Designing Women has revolutionized an entire genre. Similar to the previously aired Mary Tyler Moore Show and That Girl, Designing Women rewrote what being a woman in society truly means. No longer is it acceptable for women to be cast aside and limited to homemaking. As Butler writes, the unruly woman is not satisfied with conventional roles as an object. Rather, the spectacle that she creates serves her own desires and needs. As many women still struggle for an even playing field, it is important to look back on what the show has accomplished and use it as an example of what to fight for.